Welcome to Roll to Hit Gaming's 50 Favorite Games.
Today we're going to go through our top 40 through 31.
These are some more of the games that have stood the test of time for us. For Roll to Hit Gaming, I'm Chip.
I'm Lucas.
And I'm Joe. So let's get started.
So today we'll start with number 40, and my number 40 is Abyss. We've talked about this in our previous episode, and the thing that's really catching about this is the incredible artwork. And the different factions within the game really provide you a different method of play based on the choices that you make. The military guys are a little more mess with your opponents. The merchant guys bring in money, which will allow you to do some things. It's a really nice balance of good gameplay and maybe the best art I've ever seen in a board game.
It also has an expansion now. I believe it's called the Kraken. And it adds the, on top of the currency of the white pearls, you also have the black pearls, which you're trying to get rid of. So that's an interesting dynamic they added to it.
Yeah, not much more can be said, but it's a great game.
All right. Chip?
My 40 was also on Lucas's list from before, and it is Star Wars X-Wing miniature game. I love the way that the templates are used to move the ships, and in comparison to the other forms of what do they call this, flight path style game. In contrast to those, X-Wing really feels like the dogfight for me. Star Trek feels more like the naval ships, and it's kind of a one-hitter quitter for those big ships. I feel like they should be able to take more damage, more hits before being destroyed, and they don't. And the D&D, I just really haven't had a lot of playtime with it. I do like the way that the armor works in that system, but for this type of mechanic, I think X-Wing is my favorite.
Yeah, I think so. And the cool thing is, you know, a big part of the game is obviously going to be your faction building your team. But the real key to this game is understanding how those maneuver templates work. If you can maneuver, you can overcome an inferior. An inferior fleet build.
Yeah, a lot of strategy in that.
I'll leave that one to y'all. I tend to run into myself more than anything else, so I just don't have the coordination for it, so that's just not a game for me.
So, Joe, what's your number 40?
My number 40 is a game that I got to play at BGG Con for the first time, and it's called Papa Palo. This game is basically you own a pizza parlor. You are building up the neighborhood in order to make deliveries. It has this little sideboard where you're Tetrising in the neighborhood pieces to build up the neighborhood. It has a lot of interesting dynamics that's very puzzly, and I like the puzzle aspect to it. So Papa Palo, that's my number 40.
Yeah, you know, that's amazing. If any of you out there get the opportunity to play with one of these somewhere, you won't know whether they liked it or hated it, because we played that game and I liked it a lot too, and they were like, yeah, it's good, you know. So it's really surprising to see her put that on that list, but I agree. I think it's a great little Euro game.
Maybe I need to play it again, because it didn't blow my hair back, but again, I didn't hate it. So it was neat. It was a neat little construction game. Kind of a thinky game, but I need to play it again.
But that's our number 40s.
My number 39 is a game that I've only played one time, played it at BGG Con, and I actually bought it and traded it, and now I'm kicking myself in the butt for doing so. I will have this game back, and we will play it because I think you guys will like it. That game is Mombasa. It's an economic and worker placement, sort of area control kind of game. There's a lot of little mini games inside this game, but really fun and really brain burny. Again, I'm kicking myself. I don't know why I got rid of it. For whatever reason, I had a brain fart and thought that you guys just weren't going to take to it at all, and so I let it go. And now I've got to get it back, and I'm going to have this game back.
So, as I understand, I think this one, if I'm remembering right, is from the same designer as Great Western Trail.
I think you're right, yes.
So, I haven't played it, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing so.
I love puzzle games, so let's give it a whirl.
Well, we will exploit Africa as soon as I can get it back. Joe?
Okay, so for my number 39, it's a game that's very simple. You have locations on the board that you have to collect sets of gems in order to gain them. You also have jewelers that you try to gain their attention for extra points, and that's very simply Splendor.
Okay.
I absolutely love this game. It's a puzzle, and like I said, I absolutely love puzzle games and trying to figure out the right combinations in order to get the right tiles and that keep adding to your pile of gemstones. I just love it, and so that would be my 39.
This is another one of these games that, as soon as you look at it, if you knew Joe, you would understand this is going to be one of her games.
Yeah.
So it's a good little game.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Yeah.
Okay, so what about you?
My number 39 is a deck building game, and a little different than most of them. It is a cooperative deck building game, and it's essentially Starship Troopers, the deck building game. I'm talking about Xenoshift, either Onslaught or the new Dreadmire. And basically, you work for a mining corporation that's mining this valuable material on these really hazardous planets, and you're the Marines trying to protect the base so that they can mine from the oncoming waves of bugs or monsters or whatever the setting gives you. It's really clever because the equipment cards that you can equip yourself, that you can deck build into your deck, can be used to assist other players. Because as a team, you're trying to prevent the base from being destroyed. So if another player is short on taking out a monster, you might throw a grenade his way. But the catch there is those are the equipment you have as a team. So because you used it there, it's not going to be available later. It's a really tense game. The new version, Dreadmire, tightens it up a little bit, makes it a little bit sweeter than it was before. It's a really cool cooperative, just nail-biting experience. Xenoshift, Onslaught, or Dreadmire. Those are my number 39.
I've yet to play this one, but I'm very interested to give it a shot the way you talk about it.
It's really good. The monsters, they come out at you in waves. So it gets a little bit more difficult and a little bit more difficult. And the equipment that you've already used, you're like, man, I wish I had that back. And you'd have to, purchase more and try to live through it, basically. It's not only saving the base, but once all of your troops are gone, you're done. So it's very tense, very nail-biting. It's a good game.
And that is our number 39.
Okay, so for my number 38, it's a game that I played, one of the first games that I played with our gaming group. It really introduced me to a more strategic board game, because before it was mainly mass market when it came to the board games. And this is called History of the World. Okay. We did get to play this last night, as is becoming our New Year's tradition. Our gaming group will get together and basically try and conquer the world, and it's fantastic. I've never been a Risk fan, but this game, for some reason, when you're going through the different epochs and you change from one civilization to another, it's just it's engaging. And even though it is a longer game, you're still in the middle of it. You're still in the thick of it throughout the entire run of the game. So I love this game. It's a great one.
Yeah, you started us off talking about games that stand the test of time. And last episode we talked some about shared experiences. Yeah. For our gaming group, this is one of those games. It stood the test of time, and the shared experience every time we put it on the table is amazing. So, really good game.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better. It's all about the experience. And it's a great game.
Okay, what about you?
My number 38 is going to come as a little bit of surprise to some who understand that I hate abstract strategy games. But mine is one that I found at BGG Con, I guess maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and that's the Duke. I felt like the Duke took an outdated, boring chess game and made it really exciting. The random draws from your bag, and then when you move your piece, it flips, and now it has a different ability than it did before. I thought it was deeply strategic. It was engaging. It was fun the entire time. A little brain burnery, but it was absolutely awesome in that setting, and I really like it. Number 38, the Duke.
Yes, this is textbook how you put a theme on an abstract strategy.
Absolutely.
You make the pieces out of wood, you call it the Duke, you give it sort of this medieval theme, and essentially it's just a chess variant. But it is awesome. It's just an awesome game.
Really the same theme that chess has.
Yeah,
it absolutely
it works
here.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, because you're trying to kill the king, right, or kill the Duke. But the flipping of the tiles, that's a novel idea. The random draw from the bag, really great game.
Fantastic.
All right.
So my number 38, we haven't played in a while, but I really like it. A trading game. It's called Parthenon: Rise of the Aegean.
Great game.
This is an older title, but if you can find it, go grab it. It's a purely card game, but comes in a huge box. But just really neat, and using cards it's a trading in the Mediterranean game with cards. But again, had a great time playing it. Still love to play. I would love to play it again.
Yes, this game has been on our shelf for over a decade, and we've never let it go.
Yep.
So it's a good game.
Yeah, it gives me the feeling that I wanted but didn't get out of Catan. And Parthenon does that for me. Makes it much better.
Yeah, there's really trading involved with other players. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So that's our number 38.
So somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 or 25 years ago, I started playing pencil and paper Dungeons and Dragons role-playing games. And we did that, and we still do it periodically. And honestly, it's probably the best gaming experiences I've ever had. So finding a game that brought that in a way that I enjoyed was really nice. My number 37 is Pathfinder Adventure Card Game. I feel like Pathfinder, from a role-playing perspective, perfected the D&D 3.5 system. And the card game, I like card games, and the card game really worked out well. You're building your deck as you go along. You're exploring different locations and defeating monsters, overcoming barriers, collecting treasure. And you build all of these into your deck, and it's a long campaign, and your deck gets better as you go. You gain higher level equipment, higher level spells, but so do the monsters get increasingly more difficult. And it's a great transition from that RPG setting into a card game that I feel like really works well for our group at least. Number 37's Pathfinder Adventure Card Game.
I liked this game a lot. We've gone through, almost completed the first set, the Rise of the Rune Lord. I think we're a few adventures back, but I really like it. I really like the way that it works, and am interested in seeing the subsequent titles.
And it's also a cooperative game, so you kind of have to discuss with each other. Okay, so if we're going into this dungeon, I'll take care of this, and you take care of this, and it allows you to fit the best party together. The best talents of each party. So
it should also be said that party composition is important.
Oh, yeah.
And in all of our years of playing Dungeons and Dragons, we've never gone on a campaign without a cleric. But in Pathfinder Adventure Card Game, who needs the cleric?
Yeah.
And we're kind of suffering from that. But we're managing. We have a druid.
Maybe that's a difficulty setting thing, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
All right.
Great game. Great game.
So, Chip?
My 37. So we spend an hour a week volunteering for scouting groups, or so they tell us. And I wanted a game that I could take on outings that would stand up, in any type of weather and any type of condition. But it also has to be portable. It has to be, not real heavy. And I found that Hive makes a great inclusion of this. And I just like the way that the game plays. So Hive, a hex-based abstract strategy game where your hexes are different types of bugs with different movement profiles, and you're essentially trying to surround your opponent's queen bee. Really neat game. I've taken it on scouting trips and introduced the boys to it. Easy to learn and fun to play, and holds up in all types of weather.
That's true. Especially the theme of it itself for a scout trip is fantastic with the bugs and the bees and all that. I don't think I've played this one. You've shown it to us, but I don't think you've run me through it.
I think I've got it in my backpack. We might try that out.
All right, Joe.
Okay, so for my number 37, I swear all the games that get introduced to me is usually at BGG Con. But this one was one that Chip picked up, and we ran through it right there on the table, and that was Gold West.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, you are miners, and you're trying to. There's this board with all these little chits on it, and you're trying to expand your mining company. And so you'll go into these different locations on the board, and you'll put your little tent down on it, and you're trying to get silver and gold and copper. But there's also, it's a Euro game basically, but I would consider it kind of a light one. It's a light Euro, but it is a lot of fun, and there's a lot of different combinations to win, so you're not stuck on the same repeat button. There's just different options all the way through it, and I really enjoyed the theming, and the board is beautiful, so that would be Gold West.
Yeah, this is one of the games that it ended, and I thought, I really like that, but I have no idea what just happened.
Right.
So I'm excited to try this one again. I haven't played it in a couple years now, but I enjoyed the experience.
When I got down to 55 games, paring this list down, I felt like Sophie's Choice. Okay, I didn't want to lose any of them. And spoiler alert, Gold West was one. It has to be my 51. I mean, I love this game. I love this game, and if I sat down with my list, I could find one other game to drop and put it in. But it's a really, really good game. I hated to not put it on the list, but I'm glad somebody did.
It is fantastic.
I don't even. We've got it back here.
Yeah,
but
we do.
Can't remember who makes it now. Is it Tasty Minstrel?
I don't remember.
I can't remember, but pick it up, guys. If you see it out there, you'll Moncala mechanic. Really fun, really fun.
But that's our number 37s.
So our number 36, I'm still on the abstract strategy bandwagon, but this is going to be a quickie because it was just talked about by you, and that is the Duke. We've said all we need to say about it. Fantastic game.
Agreed.
It is.
Joe?
Okay, so for my number 36, it's also an abstract game. It can be linked to kind of a chess light, and that is Onitama.
Oh, okay.
Love Onitama. The boarding, the little mat that you play on, the pieces, the box that it comes in, all of it is absolutely stunning. The gameplay is fantastic because it can change each time. You have these cards with basically moves on them, and you rotate them around. There's 5 cards in play at any given time, but they have like a dozen or so different cards you can use as your moves. And so you take 5 of those and you just go, and you're trying to either capture the teacher or just be on his spot on the mat that's the school, basically. And it's all about capture the flag, basically. It's a beautiful game. It's so much fun. It's not too long. I think you could play a game in maybe 10 to 15 minutes. It's pretty short, but it's just a fantastic game. I love it. It's Onitama.
Yeah, I liked it. You introduced me to it, and we played a few games where we actually kept our cards secret, not knowing that we were supposed to show all of them, which kind of added a neat element because you have the nuclear bomb go off when you have that one hidden card show up. But really fun game, really fun game, and quick, really quick to play.
All right, so my number 36 is a dice chucking, pirate killing good time, and that's Rum and Bones. We saw this game when it came out, and I thought, there's nothing there, move along. And somebody wanted it, so I picked it up for her, and this game's just fun. I mean, granted, you're not going to really engage many deep thoughts while you're playing Rum and Bones, but it's cool meaning or not, so all of the pieces are fantastic, and you're just throwing dice and killing pirates and killing minions. It's just a great time. 36, Rum and Bones.
I don't know anything about these games. These are, even on computer, I don't. What do they call them? Dota,
the MOBA,
or MOBA style games. I don't know anything about them, but it sounds fun. You guys were talking about. I think the first time you played it, you I guess you got kind of into killing the minions, but not working on anybody else, and realized maybe 15, 20 minutes into it.
Oh no!
3
hours.
It's
3 hours into
later.
it that you needed to do something else. But it sounds really interesting, and it's a cool mini or not game. The miniatures are going to be fantastic. I think it's getting a fair level of support.
Oh yeah. A new version is going to come out soon that allows you to customize the powers of your guys. So. Really looking forward to that.
Well, sometimes you just need a game that you can decompress and turn off the brain and just have some fun. And not every game, the thinky games and the Euro games, they have their place, but sometimes you just want to throw some dice and just have at it. And that's what that game does for you.
All right. Those are our numbers 36.
So my number 35 is a 2-player game to where basically it's McCain versus Obama. And that is Campaign Manager 2008. You choose to be one of the candidates, and through card play, you are trying to gain electoral votes in order to become president. It was surprisingly fun. I didn't expect much out of it, but I don't know. You can be sneaky and underhanded, and it's a great game. And it actually took moments in that campaign, moments of history within that campaign, and brought it to life in the cards. And you could actually feel like, okay, so I'm really pushing the economic agenda or the troops and military agenda. So it was great. I absolutely loved it, and that was Campaign Manager 2008.
So in the trend of taking heavier historical-based games and making a light version of them, this essentially does that to 1960 and rethemes it with the McCain-Obama 2008 election. I agree with everything she said. It's simple, it's fun, it's quick, good game.
This one never really jumped out at me because I've played 1960 Making of a President. You're right, 1960 takes a while, so if you got a quicker version, that might feel a scratch an itch if you don't have the time. But yeah, it never really just jumped off the shelf at me.
If I had to make a choice between the Campaign Manager and 1960, I believe for me, Campaign Manager 2008 would win hands down every time.
That's a bold statement.
Yep,
it is. I choose that one.
Okay.
All right. So from the horrifying reality of politics to the horrifying reality of H.P. Lovecraft, my number 35 is Elder Sign. We played Elder Sign years ago for the first time, and we had 5 or 6 people mounted up around a table, yelling and hollering and throwing dice and defeating unspeakable horrors, and it's just a great time, And there's several expansions out for it now. I feel like it gets better each time it's expanded. It's a hard game, You're rolling your dice, and if something doesn't meet the criteria you're trying to fill, you lose one and re-roll. So it's got a little bit of a Yahtzee thing in there, but you're losing some of your power every time you do it. And if you fulfill it, you get the reward. If you don't, something bad happens in a very Lovecraftian way. So just a great fun time. Cool little game. Takes Arkham or Eldritch and compresses them as far as the amount of time you play, unless you play with 6 people. And it's just a lot of fun to be had. Number 35, Elder Sign.
Elder Sign, yeah, it's an incredible game. I think it was the first Lovecraft board game we ever got into.
It may have been, yeah.
And we really liked the way the dice building mechanism. I know some people get really turned off by the randomness of dice, and so if you're one of those folks, this game's probably not for you. But if you don't mind it, it's really neat. And it's hard. Sometimes you're going to roll the wrong dice and you're going to lose. But it's a fun game.
Yeah, but with the equipment and such, that essentially allows you to store a dice or throw an extra dice. You can kind of mitigate that luck a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's still going to be a random element there no matter what you do.
Yeah, really good game.
In that particular game that you mentioned, the one where we had 5 to 6 players, we actually had a player there that had never played really board games all that much. at all, and she really got into it and seemed to enjoy herself, even though it was probably 4 hours.
Yeah,
on that
yeah,
because
yeah.
there was so many players.
And thematically a little dark for her, but she still did have a good time.
But she did. She enjoyed it.
Well, what do you do to protect yourself against the writhing masses of tentacles and slobbering maws that occur on election night? You hide under your comfy quilt. My number 35 is a game called Patchwork.
Nice segue.
Little Uwe Rosenberg, I think, is the designer. Two-player game of tile placement, and you're essentially building a quilt. And this is one of the few games that my non-gamer wife will play with me, and so I cherish those type of games. And they definitely have a place on my favorite 50 list. I showed you guys one night real quick just how to play. It's very simple, but I like it. It's a neat game, neat little puzzle game.
Yeah, I think it's a fun, simple, probably really shines as a couples game.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, Uwe took that mechanic and incorporated at least a piece of it into Feast for Odin.
Yeah,
so
I
it looks
heard
like
that.
that's something he's going to run with. So, yeah, good game.
Yep. That is our number 35s.
So my number 34 is a tableau building resource management game with a fantastic theme on it, and that is Seven Wonders. The really nice thing about Seven Wonders for me is that it introduced me to card drafting, which has quickly become one of my favorite mechanics. I love the puzzle that exists in choosing my card that will benefit me, but being careful enough not to pass to my opponent the card they're going to need most in their next hand. So that was a really nice element for me. The art is great in this game, and I really like the theme of building the Seven Wonders throughout time. Really great game, really nice mechanics, nice tight mechanics, and that is my number 34, Seven Wonders.
I'd heard about this one a lot, and we were deep into designer board games by the time that I actually got to play it. And I went to a random game night at some church, and somebody was there to teach it, and I immediately went out and bought it. It was a great game. That's interesting. I was wondering where you were going to put that on your list. I figured it would be there, but I wondered where it would be. So
yeah, I feel like it suffered from that's a card game, and I have a ton of card games I like.
Yeah,
it's
right.
a crowded field. I don't have room for another one until I saw what it actually was, which worked out well for me.
Yeah, no, really fun game. Really fun game.
Yeah,
All right.
pretty good.
Chip.
What are we on? 34.
34.
My 34 could be called a kid's game, but I think it's fun for adults too. You guys introduced me to it. I think you had originally bought it for your sons, and that's King of Tokyo. I like it. I mean, it's fun. Who doesn't like playing Godzilla, right? And just or some mechanized monkey or whatever the other characters are, and smashing into the big city. Now, I haven't played King of New York. I'd like to try that too, but the base game King of Tokyo, really fun, and just a good time to be had by all. So definitely on the favorite list.
Yeah, any game where in the middle of it you can just start screaming Panda Kai.
Yeah,
It's
there you
just
go.
Fantastic. Absolutely love it.
Right.
Okay, so for my number 34, it's an oldie but goodie, but Shadows over Camelot.
Now we're talking.
I would say we played this, the first time we ever played this game was roughly 10 to 12 years ago.
Probably.
When we first played it, and I love Arthurian legend, and so the theme of it just by itself sucked me in. But there's so many different little mini games on the board that I absolutely fell in love with it. You have the Golden Chalice, and then you have the Picts versus the what is that other Saxons, right? You have those battles, and then you have the lake, the lady of the swords.
Excalibur.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Excalibur. But that whole game board was beautiful. I think they even made a card game out of it.
Yep.
To expand from it. But the base game of all that is my favorite of it. Even with Merlin's Company added, I think just the base game is perfect for me, and I love Shadows over Camelot.
I agree. I couldn't say anything more really right now. It's a great game.
This game doesn't really even need a trader. I mean, because it will beat you by itself.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
adding the trader element just adds enough anxiety to the game and just takes it right over the top. Yeah, great game.
Yep. And that's our number 34s.
Well, to continue on the trader mechanic, I've got my 33 is going to be Battlestar Galactica. I love Shadows over Camelot as well, but Battlestar Galactica, man, I think it might have been our first trader mechanic that we ever played. And I don't think, if I'm correct, I don't think you have a choice in Battlestar Galactica.
No, I don't
Somebody's
think
going to
so.
be a Cylon.
Yeah.
Shadows over Camelot, you might finish without one, but I mean, it's been a while since I played, but if I'm not mistaken, somebody's going to be a Cylon. And Battlestar Galactica, you're trying to save Battlestar, fight off the Cylons. You never beat them. It's the horde that won't stop. You just have to survive long enough to jump to Earth or whatever. I'm drawing a blank on the other planet name, but really fun. I mean, great game of trader management and resource management.
Yeah, I'm like you. I don't remember if you're forced to have a trader or not, but I do remember that at some point during the game, you basically go through the roll cards again. So even if you're not forced to, there's a greater chance it's going to happen because, additional roll calls are going to get cards are going to get passed out. It's a great game. It's a great game.
I like the added tension because you've got that countdown clock until you can jump.
Yep.
And then the horde comes and you're still trying to go.
And do we use that nuke right now, or do we
Right.
save it to later?
Right.
Yeah,
So,
lots of
yeah.
tension. Great game.
It is. It's fantastic.
Jeff?
My number 33 is part of the Tiny Epic series, and my choice was Tiny Epic Galaxies.
Oh, okay.
It's a little bitty game in a box if you're not familiar with Tiny Epic. This one is in the sci-fi universe. They have different ones. But basically you have this little card and you're building up your technology and you're moving your little rocket up and you go and you visit these little planet cards, and the whole thing is resource gathering and money, and it's fun, it's cute, it's just in a little bitty thing, but it is a full game even though it's in a little bitty tiny box. So Tiny Epic Galaxies, that's my pick.
Yeah. I can't remember. Another podcaster said it doesn't really have to be tiny, right?
Right,
It,
yeah.
The Tiny Epic line, all of the games that I've played really feel like a full board game,
Right.
In a portable package. Great game.
All right, my number 33 is essentially gamer's life, and that's Stronghold's Pursuit of Happiness. In this game, it's a worker placement game, and your workers are time. They look like sand timers, wooden sand timers, and you're spending your time on various things in order to increase your money or increase your happiness or increase your long-term happiness, which is your victory points. And all of the whole purpose of the game is, what can I do to increase the happiness that I experienced in my life before old age finally takes me? And it really just registers with me. I have a ton of fun playing this. As the story plays out in the game, you get a job, or you start a board game collection, or you marry Susie, and then when you get older, you add some stress to your life by marrying Susie and then also dating Veronica. So it was really, really fun time playing this game, Pursuit of Happiness.
The one real cool thing about that was, you had the hobbies, and then you had like cars and stuff like that. So you had like your hobbies, you had your job, you had your cars, or like you said, video game collection, or whatever the case may be. You can get pets, which they don't last very long. It's a very cute game. My only beef with this, which he makes fun of me all the time for, is there wasn't really any lows. It was you had all these highs, but you didn't experience any lows, like losing a job or getting fired, and that's just a personal thing. I wanted the ebb and flow of the highs and the lows that would purely mirror, what life can be.
I think while pursuing happiness, most of us don't want a zombie apocalypse. So
Everybody wants a zombie apocalypse.
The outside of the box looks silly, but you guys introduced me to it, and I had a good time. It's a lot. There's a thinky game inside this silly looking box. I get what I never thought about it that way though, Joe. I do get it. There's not any bad things that happen to you during your life other than reaching death.
Right.
And that's the one thing for me is, man, if you can find a way to extend your life into old age, you can really excel in this game. If you don't, you are going to lose. But yeah, it was neat. I'd like to play it again because it's one of those that leaves you like, oh, okay, now I know what's going to happen. I want to try it this way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good game.
That's our numbers 33.
Okay, so for my number 32 is the first crossover, I think, of this particular span of 10 games. And that is Pathfinder, the adventure card game.
Nice.
I really, really enjoyed this game, and I can't wait to go into the other ones. We are near the end of the first one, and then we have Skull and Shackles that's coming up, so I'm really excited about that one. And I think there's 2 more even after that. So, but the whole point of it is like you choose a character, and mine happened to be the Druid. That's the one I picked, and we went and got the Druid pack, and so I could really... it is random on the cards you draw, but I really could customize my Druid. I could decide, am I going to keep this card or trade it out for something different, as I got for treasure, when I was doing the dungeon. So I just really, really enjoyed that Pathfinder game.
Yep, it's a great game.
All right, so my number 32 is going to continue this trend of crossover on the same list. Because I chose Tiny Epic Galaxies. And I won't spend too much time on it, but I wanted to tell you the thing that intrigues me the most about this game, and that is the follow the leader mechanic that it uses. When a person selects an action, and then everybody else can spend culture to follow that action and perform the same action. I really like that type of mechanic. I think the first thing that introduced me to it was probably Puerto Rico. It has the follow the leader thing, and I really enjoy that. And one of the reasons behind that is because it keeps you engaged the entirety of the game. You don't experience periods of downtime because you're involved the whole time. And I really, really love that in a game. And Tiny Epic Galaxies hits it out of the park on that front.
Absolutely.
This would probably be my second favorite of the Tiny Epic line.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. My 32 is there it is. It's one that was on Jolene's list from last time, and that's Mission Red Planet. Just a fun game, great artwork that just drew me in. This is the second edition that I'm talking about, and really fun gameplay. I mean, I love it. I like the mechanic of using a deck of cards that you have, but not being able to refresh it until you go through the whole, the whole deck. So you have, what is it, 12, I think it's 10 or 12 cards, but you have to use them in a sequence, one at a time until you get through the whole thing. And that's really interesting to me. So it's the strategy of timing it just right.
Yeah.
I really like about that.
Yeah, I think that action selection mechanic is really where that game shines.
Love that game.
That's my number 32.
And that is our number 32. So my number 31 is a cooperative living card game, and that's the Lord of the Rings living card game. I heard about this game, 2 or 3 years ago, and I was familiar with Fantasy Flight's living card game system, and I enjoy them, but I thought, how is a cooperative game supposed to fit into that? It didn't really make a lot of sense, but we picked it up. And it really, really works. Your teams work together as you're going down the path and exploring Tolkien's world, fighting the giant spiders and the orcs, and all trying to reach whatever the goal of the particular scenario you're doing is. And the neat thing about it is each month when they come out with the new the new card pack, you've got a new scenario in there. You've got new heroes. You've got new cards to further customize your deck. It's not deck building. It's more deck construction. And overall, it's just a really, really fun experience. It has that tension that a cooperative game should have. It's not easy. And I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, this game will beat you down quick if you let it. I love the cooperative living card games Fantasy Flight is doing. I want to play that Arkham Horror one they've just released. But the schedule that they release new packs is really aggressive, and in an environment where other games are coming out, I can't really just throw everything into keeping up with one of these. I think that's probably why I like the cooperatives better because, if I don't get the cutting edge newest thing, that's okay. We're still working on last story.
Right.
Whereas, things like Netrunner and the Warhammer 40K living card game, I just can't keep up with them.
Right. Yep. So, number 31, Lord of the Rings living card game.
My number 31 is Dead of Winter, and so I'm a huge zombie apocalypse fan, and we picked this guy up, and it's really delivered. So I like it's cooperative, but I like the tension you have when moving outside the compound. You don't want to move because you're going to die just moving, And this is another one of those that if you don't like random dice rolls, this ain't your game. Because there's not much, there's a few things you can do to mitigate the severity of the dice, but at the end of the day, the dice can just completely wipe you out. I'm not sure if we've ever won a game of this. I think maybe one. I think we did. We did. I think we've won one scenario, but it's tough. It's pandemic hard. Okay, so but Dead of Winter is definitely one of my top favorites, and number 31 for me.
Yeah, I don't like zombie things. I typically think they're pretty stupid, but this one does for me the same thing that the Walking Dead TV show does. It makes it to where the characters are the focus and not the zombies, and there's a deep storytelling game even in there, right? And it's got that trader mechanic, which I'm kind of ho hum on, and everybody has their individual goals, which kind of makes you think everybody's a trader as you're going along because. I know you had food that you could have put in there to help us out, and you didn't, and it'll turn out that, no, he's not the trader, he's just got to have food at the end of the game, right? So there's a lot of things that go into making this one unique and interesting and a really good choice.
Now, and granted, I know that you're not the biggest fan of Zombie Apocalypse. The rumor mill is that they were working or they are working on a space-themed, kind of a sci-fi themed version of this Crossroads style game.
I'm in.
And that sounds completely cool, right? Because you could definitely port that over pretty easily.
Yep.
More to come later on that particular game from me. But for my number 31 is a game that I recently played called Clank.
Yeah.
Clank was just fun. It's just a ton of fun. You're basically racing through this dungeon, trying to get victory points or these treasures, and raced out before the dungeon collapses on top of you or the other players. You're trying to be the first one out. So, because you don't want to wake the dragon,
right?
Basically, and it was just fun. There's a little bit of strategy to it. As far as what paths you go and how far you're willing to commit to this particular path, but I absolutely love the game. It was just given to us, just played at BGG Con last time.
Yep.
Again, BGG Con. But yeah, I absolutely loved it, and I'm grateful to Chip for getting that so that we could play that one.
Yeah, it was a fun one. Surprisingly fun game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was probably my number 51. And if you're like me, you'll see it and you'll think, I have enough deck builders, and the art looks dumb.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Yeah. Fortunately, he grabbed it, and it's a great, fun little game.
Yep.
Well, that was our 40 through 31s, and from Roll to Hit Gaming, I'm Joe.
I'm Lucas.
And I'm Chip.
And we'll see you next time.